Pranams, good evening once again to all of you. We are now going through the fourth chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Jnana Karma Sanyasa Yoga. Jnana Karma Sanyasa. There are three dimensions: Jnanam, Karmam, Sanyasam. What is Jnanam? Jnanam is the right understanding about the reality. Who truly am I? Karmam is what? Karmam is action. How to perform one's own duty. How to execute the Swadharma in this world. So knowledge about self, knowledge about what to perform or how to perform one's own duties in this world, and that or these two are not only sufficient, and you should also know the third part, the sannyasa, the renunciation. While we execute the karma with clarity in the knowledge, one should have the inner detachment. It is not a physical withdrawal, right? Here sannyasam is karma sannyasam with the knowledge, with the jnana, the inner detachment, and it is not a physical withdrawal when we say sannyasam. And in the fifth chapter we can see what is sannyasam. The definition of sannyasam is jnanam sannyasa lakshana. So this chapter deals with three dimensions, brings three dimensions: jnanam, karmam, sannyasam. Right? And most of us get into confusions today, right? We do a lot of work, we put lot of efforts, but there is something called as the lack of clarity. Right? We do the karma, sometimes logically we may not follow up with the results logically, but what is needed? All three dimensions: jnanam, karmam, sannyasam. So that is where the jnanam helps. What is jnanam? Jnanam is all about knowing who truly am I. Right? So when we say who truly am I this changing body, am I this changing mind, am I this changing relationships, or am I this personal, or am I this kind of a person or a personality that we try to embody, or the kind of, what is the right word, the possessions that we keep in life. And again, these all are needed for the transactions. We need everything, but the understanding that what is temporary in life, whether these possessions are permanent, whether these relationships are going to be permanent, whether the power that I have in this world through my profession or whatever is it, right, or the wealth that I possess, knowing that these all are temporary and knowing what truly matters, this is the jnana. And one should also understand the role that is played, or the roles that we play in this world, without the emotional distraction. In this case, Arjuna, if you see Arjuna Vishada Yoga, right? Vishada, the depression that Arjuna has undergone. In the modern world, I think modern man is confused, because confusion on how to perform, how or why am I getting affected, and in the real life everything is a play of ego driven transactions around. So that is where our efficiency comes down and the confusion happens in all of us. So when I say the three dimensions of Jnanam, Karmam, Sanyasam, Bhagavad Gita always emphasize the yogam. And yogam is not an option. Yogam is basically what? Yogam is the engine to stabilize intelligence in all of us. Stabilization of the intelligence within us is called as yoga. And when one drifts from the yogam, confusion will happen. When one is following the yogam or yoga, clarity happens. So clarity or drifting from clarity to confusion when one drifts away from yoga. Because the mind falls with the confusion, mind falls with the external things. In the second chapter we have seen from attachment to, instead of attention, the inward attention drifts from attention, attachment comes, desire comes, then anger comes, delusion comes. We have seen this verse, Dhyayado Vishayan Pumsa Sangastesho Vajayate. So from attention, the attachment comes, distractions comes, the desire comes, anger comes, delusion comes. Ultimately, the chudi, the destruction of a person. We have seen this. So that is where from the right clarity, human beings getting confused and ultimately ends up in delusion, memory loss and the vinasha. So that is where the yogam helps. Yogam is basically what? Yogam is basically the inner anchoring. So Bhagavan here says this yogam was, or this yoga, this knowledge was given to Vivaswan. Imam Vivasvade yogam proktavan aham avyayam. Vivaswan manave praha manurikshagave abravid. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu. Sakale neha mahada yogo nashna parandam. So what happened? Over a period of time, the yoga got lost. The people became ayoga. Right? Ayoga. Where they get lot of choices in life, but the inner emptiness comes. Less clarity comes. That is the state of affair of Arjuna. Right? So now I will teach the same yoga which I gave to the Vivaswan. That's what Bhagavan says to Arjuna. So there is nothing new here. So what has happened is basically the path of yoga was ignored by the people who are supposed to protect. The path of Shreyas was ignored by the people when prayers came. Prayers meaning what? Power. So what happened is basically the after effect of following the path of prayers created the weakness, because the Shreyas and prayers both should be managed properly. Dividohi vedokto dharma pravarti lakshano nivarti lakshana. So pravarti, when we do the pravarti, nivarti should also happen. The inner anchoring should happen. The inner strength should also be leveraged when we do the external actions. But over a period of time, people focused only on the external actions. Think only about tangible outputs and get attached to those objects, and those objects clouded the clarity and created the deep sense of meaninglessness. So now the question to all of us is basically, are we following the yoga on a daily basis? Did I drop the yoga in my daily living? Am I always connected to that wisdom which is there within me? That wisdom is where jnanam paramaguhyam mem yad vijnana samanvidam. And that wisdom is within us. Am I involved in anchoring with that wisdom? So this is the question we all have to have. So Bhagavan says, Krishna says, this wisdom was given long ago to Vivaswan, then Manu, Ikshvaku, followed by the Rajarshis, and they are supposed to maintain that parampara. But over a period of time, this yoga got lost over the time. What is this yoga? The science of action and renunciation with the knowledge. Jnana Karma Sanyasa. So this eternal wisdom was given by Lord Krishna to the sun god. Vivaswan manave praha manurikshvagave abravid. Right? That is what these two verses says. Imam vivasvade yogam praktavan aham avyayam vivaswan manave praha manurikshvagave abravid. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu sakale neha mahada yogo nashta parantava. So who is the first student of Lord Krishna? Sun god, Surya Vamsha, right? So Surya Vamsham is basically the Jnana Pradhanam. It carries knowledge. And we can see the Chandra Vamsham. Chandra Vamsham is Yoga Pradhanam, stresses on yoga, and Krishna as the big proponent of yoga. You can see the concluding verse of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the Ekashloki Gita. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno Yatra Partho Dhanurdara Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhudir Dhruva Nidir Madir Mama. So, who is Krishna? Yogeshwara. And every chapter, if you see, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastra. This is the Yoga Shastra. So Yogeshwara Krishna. So Jnana Pradhani. If you see Surya Vamsham, Jnana Pradhanam, Sri Raman, Chandra Vamsham, Yoga Pradhanam, Krishna. Maybe the question will come, how this Krishna can give this knowledge to the sun. That is what Arjuna is going to ask. We will not come to that at this point. Aditya, sun, is the Bhagavan, is the manifestation of the Lord, is the manifestation of Jnana. And we do the Smarana in Gayatri, through Gayatri Mantra. Om Bhurbhuvasva Tatsavidurvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimai Thiyo Yonha Prajojayad. So may your pure divine light illuminate all my realms, physical, spiritual, mental, of our being. And please help us to expel any darkness from the heart. And we bestow upon this true knowledge, So you bring clarity, you bring this truth, you make this truth illumine. And this truth is my own nature. And what is this truth? This truth is pure consciousness. And in the Ishavasya Upanishad, we can see the verse Hiranmayena patrena satyasyaabhidam muham tattvam pushan apavrinu satya dharmaya drishtade. Hiranmayena patrena satyasyaabhidam muham tattvam pushan apavrinu satya dharmaya drishtade. So, how you must be knowing a vessel which is having a lid. So that lid will cover the contents of the inside the vessel. So here the prarthana, the prayer is basically, oh sun. So you are the golden vessel, right? The golden covering of the sun, right? That is like a lid and it is not allowing to enter the truth. So you kindly open the same, you kindly open that lid and allow me to experience the truth. So what is the meaning here? It is basically the removal of ignorance. You help or you bless me to remove the ignorance and the illusion that is not allowing to experience the ultimate truth. So this imperishable science of yoga was taught to Vivaswan, the sun god, and over the chains of disciplic succession, maybe we can say it's lineage or called as sampradayam in Sanskrit. What is this knowledge? The science of right action and knowledge. That is what is given to the sun god. Later to the next generations called Manu called as the intelligent man, Ikshwaku and the Kshatriyas, including your Vamsha. That is what Bhagavan says to Arjuna. And the people are obliged to protect this universe through this dharma. But what happened is basically over a period of time, this Shraddha got lost and people lost this yoga. When I say lost this yoga, basically the Shraddha has come down. The attention has come down. And if you go to the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, what is yogam? Yogam is basically what? Yoga chitta vritti nirodha tadadrishta surupe avasthan. So when yogam is what? Yogam is a state where mind never moves. Mind never flickers. So when the mind never flickers, you are at that avastha, you are at that state. When the mind never flickers, you are with that truth. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodha tadadrishta surupe avasthanam. The state where mind never moves. Basically what? The absence of chitta vritti. The absence of chitta malinyam. So the one should, right, live under the custody of self-knowledge. Should not be under the custody of Maya. So what happened? Bhagavan says the reason that if you see the Shankara Bhashya, Bhagavan Bhashyagara Adi Shankara Bhagavad Padar says that Durbalan Ajidendriyan Prapya Nashtam Yogam Imam Upalabhya Logam Cha Apurushartha Sambandhinam. Basically what? Ajidendriya meaning the people who could not succeed over their senses. The people who don't have the sense control. They are the Ajidendriya due to their durbalatva, due to their weakness. Prapya Nashtam Yogam. This yoga got lost. It doesn't mean that the yoga ran away. They could not see this knowledge within. Imam Upalabhya logam cha apurushartha sambandhinam nashto vichinna sampradaya samrutte he parantapa. Hey Arjuna, you please understand that this the incapability of seeing or realizing this knowledge within, due to what? The adarsha malinya, meaning they got confused, they got indulged into the worldly activities. So the nishta lobam has created, and ultimately it led to the increase in avivegam, it led to increase in adharmam in this world. Ajitendriya, they focused only on the bhaudika, only on the material things, only on the physical things, only the focus on objects. That is what Bhagavan Bhashikaran says, apurushartha sambandhina or apurushartha sambandham. No inner strength. Over a period of time, this yoga got lost. They became weak due to lack of understanding of what? Lack of understanding of the true self, the real nature. The mind got scattered in the material things, ajitendriya. Dullness of intellect has happened in those people due to their gunas, due to their vasanas. So instead of they becoming yogis, they became bhogis. They could not manage shreyas and prayers, or they could not take shreyas and prayers hand in hand. They could not manage power along with the higher understanding of the truth, the higher understanding of the self, own self. They could not integrate the purushartham in their life, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. They could not do the integration of these things. They could not manage their mind because they got stuck at the mind. They got bahubalam, they got the physical power, they got the buddhi balam, they got the intellectual power, but they lost the yoga balam, they lost the atma balam. So the power and the spiritual growth should happen. That is where Bhagavan here says, evam paramparam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo. The term rajarshi, raja plus rishi. So power and peace, prayers and shreyas. The one who integrated this, they are the rajarshis. But over a period of time, the dominance has gone to power alone, not peace, only to prayers. That is the problem. Correct? So the people who, here it is called as ajitendriya. They lost this. They forgot to see this yogam within. So that has happened, Arjuna. Verse number 3. Sa evayam mayatyedya yoga prokta puratana bhaktosi me sakha chedi rahasyam hedaduttamam sa evayam maya te adya yogaha proktaha puratanaha bhakta asi me sakhacha iti rahasyam hi edat uttamam. So what is the meaning here? This yogam, though this has been told in the ancient, it doesn't mean that this is something ancient. This is very relevant. This is fresh. Sa eva ayam maya te adya. So today I am going to give the same knowledge which was given to you due to two reasons. You are bhakta asi me sakhacha iti. Bhakta meaning you are my true devotee. Asi me, you are my true devotee. Not only that, cha Sakha idi, meaning you are also my good friend. Idi, therefore, rahasyam hi edad uttamam. I'm going to give this profound secret to you today. Sa evayam maya tedya yoga prokta puradanaha bhaktosi me sakha chedi rahasyam hi edad uttamam. So, gaining the knowledge of yoga is the sole goal of human life. Until we have this knowledge, we are bound to live like a samsari. Samsari meaning fluctuates between pleasure and pain, fluctuates between joy and sorrow, fluctuates between birth and death. So what is the grounding that one should need is the knowledge of yoga, and that is the sole goal of human life. And this knowledge is lost. This knowledge is lost when it reaches to the people whose minds are scattered, and if they are supposed to give this knowledge to the next generation, they will fail. Durlabhan ajidendriyan prapya nashtam yogam. This yogam got lost due to the condition of the people. No, it is not because it is not available, due to the condition of the people, due to the scattered minds of the people. And this knowledge is never new. Here it says Puradana. Puradana doesn't mean that it is ancient. It is contemporary. It is always the same. And what happened actually? Now I am going to give this knowledge. Now I am going to teach you this knowledge. What made Bhagavan Krishna to do that? And Arjuna, until now, right? Until now, Bhagavan was not ready to give this knowledge. So what is the reason? Arjuna never asked this knowledge. Now, Arjuna has taken the refuge, taken Sharanagati, taken the Pravati. That is where Bhagavan says the stress on two words, Bhakta and Sakha. Now you are my true devotee and my close friend. And what is Bhagavan Krishna is trying to do? The problem of disconnection with yoga is going to be taught once again, and it is not a new knowledge. It is going to be advised to Arjuna now. And in Arjuna's case, let's also try to relate. It's a mechanical life, like an ayoga, living a mechanical life without the knowledge. Arjuna Vishadam happened due to what? Because this war became a burden, and fear of failure, right? So similarly, in our day-to-day life also, the work becomes a burden, too much of work. And in corporate world, the fact is that people who work more will get more and more and more work everywhere. So then the work becomes a burden. And success will become an ego. And again the failure, the fear of failure. Failure becomes a depression. That is which has happened to Arjuna. Vishada Yoga. So the issue is basically what? When we miss the stress and fall into the power or the prayers, what happens? What happens is basically when we miss the stress, and it is quite possible that we go into an autopilot mode. And in the modern world, these all are very common. These kind of symptoms are there, like how Arjuna got into the Vishada Sthiti. Burnouts are very common in this modern world. Despite success, people getting burnout. Though we get into lot of comforts with technology and different things, anxiety becomes a main problem. Anxiety, despite the comfort, constant comparison. What is he doing? What is she doing? What that company is doing? What is this company doing? How are they placed? How is she placed? Where am I in salary? How am I doing with respect to others? Constant comparison. And with lot of technology tools, etc., we all perform very well, but with very low fulfillment within. So high performance, low fulfillment, constant comparison, anxiety despite comfort, burnouts irrespective of success. So why is this happening? Because this yogic knowledge is missing. That is where the inner conflicts are coming. And clear understanding of the self is missing. Clear understanding of the true purpose of life is missing. So we may think then the real issue is action, right? So the probably best way is don't act. We may think like that. That is where chapter 4 comes. As I mentioned in the beginning, Jnana Karma Sanyasa. So chapter 4 is teaching us that problem is not in the action. The problem is action, doing action without the understanding. So here Bhagavan Krishna is giving this knowledge to Arjuna. In fact, this knowledge is to all of us. And Krishna is trying to bring, what is the right word? In Sanskrit we call it a smriti. Maybe the refreshing the smriti. Maybe just updating that memory or bringing a freshness into that memory. What is that freshness? The clear understanding of who truly am I, what actions I should do, and how life truly operates, and how should I live in this world with this knowledge. So first is what? Atma-jnana, the knowledge of the self. What is that? I am not this body, mind, intellect, sense. I am not these roles which I have. I am this witnessing consciousness which is unaffected by success and failure that the world brings through the different experiences where I invoke body, mind, sense, ego, different things. But I am not these instruments. Knowledge of action. What is action? What is inaction? What is wrong action? Why should I act? So the real knowledge when one needs the action, when the actions are executed, is basically how to act without the bondage. So that includes dropping the doership. That includes dropping the attachment towards the results. So where is the change happening? Is it in the action or is it towards the attitude while we do the action? So this difference can make the inner relationship with the action. So the third is basically the knowledge of the order of life. And we need to understand that life is not random. There is an intelligent order, so called as dharma. And results, when we do the actions, when we do the work, we need to understand that the results are not fully in our control. So when we have this understanding with the true knowledge about the self, what happens? The anxiety will come down, right? Even if I fail, nothing will happen. The arrogance also will come down, because the issue is basically when we operate with the feeling that I do this, I control everything, I am the one who is behind, so the anxiety and arrogance will drastically drop. So this knowledge brings acceptance plus intelligence, or I would say acceptance plus effort, which is very intelligent. So here Bhagavan says that I am not going to give any new knowledge. This is already an existing knowledge in the people who realized this. There is no new knowledge here. What is happening is basically I am trying to correct the fundamental error which has happened in you, Arjuna. Indirectly Bhagavan says I am trying to correct the fundamental error which has happened in all of us. Error is basically what? The avarana and the vikshepa. Not knowing this truth or wrongly knowing this truth. Because we think that I am the doer, I am incomplete, I have lackings in life. Or sometimes we say that these results will define me as a person, or money will define me as a person, or the power will define me as a person. So this knowledge equips us, all of us, that I am not incomplete, I am whole, because this truth, this consciousness, that is my real nature. And with this body, so called as the manifestation, I act as an instrument with this knowledge. And the results are always a part of the larger order. So this is the knowledge to liberate the individuals while doing the action. That is called as the karma yoga. While you do the karma, you convert that karma as a yoga. So what is the prerequisite for this knowledge? Very, very clear. Bhaktosi me sakha chedi. Bhakta, you are my bhakta. So when you have bhakti, this knowledge will come. Otherwise, knowledge will never come. So now, Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavado janma param janma vivaswataha kadamedad vijaniyam tvamadau proktavanidhi. Aparam bhavado janma param janma vivaswataha kadam edat vijaniyam tvam adau proktavanidhi. So if we decompose it, aparam bhavada janma param janma vivaswataha kadam edat vijaniyam tvam adau proktavan iti. So aparam bhavada janma. So the question of Arjuna is, you gave this knowledge, you said you gave this knowledge to Vivaswan, you gave this knowledge to the sun. How this is possible? You are belonging, or you are a contemporary for me. You are my contemporary. And you took birth a few months before me. So my question to you, Krishna, is how can you teach this Vidya or this Yogam, as you mentioned, to the Vivaswan, the sun? In the beginning, how it is possible? So what is your understanding? Because this is a very common question that anybody will ask. You are my peer, you are my contemporary, and you took birth in the same time. And now you are saying, I gave this knowledge to Vivaswan from the beginning. Oh, come on, something is wrong. And from the beginning, sun god, right? How can you give this knowledge, this yoga, Krishna? It's quite logical, because Arjuna is considering Krishna as the son of Devaki Vasudeva. So here we need to understand that Krishna, Bhagavan Krishna is not speaking to all of us as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, or as this Krishna, or as the hero or friend of Arjuna. Here Bhagavan Krishna is the cosmic Ishvara, cosmic being. And to all of us, Krishna in this form, or to Arjuna as the Guru, as a friend, basically that Guru Tattvam is appearing in front of all of us, so called as the Shishya, as a cosmic teacher through this contemporary Krishna in case of Arjuna. Because how come Krishna, this is possible? You are my relative, you are my cousin, you are my contemporary, just few months older than me. How this is possible? You got what I said? So because this is not the individual Krishna who is the Vasudeva Devaki Putra. This is the cosmic Ishwaran. That consciousness talking in front of all of us, that I gave this knowledge to Vivaswan, later to Manu, to Ikshvaku, and again the same knowledge I am going to give to you, Arjuna. The same knowledge I am going to give to all of us who are listening. So the confusion of Arjuna is basically how you can give this knowledge being a contemporary to me. You are my relative, you are my cousin, you are of the same age. How this is possible? Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Bahuni me vyaditani janmani tava Arjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam vedha parantapa. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava cha Arjuna tani aham veda sarvani natvam vedha parantapa. So bahuni meaning many, may for me vyatitani have passed janmani births, like you Arjuna, tani aham veda sarvani, but I know, na tvam vedha parandava. So, tani aham veda sarvani. I know every janma, but whereas you never knew all these janmas or the births that you have taken. So here, Bhagavan Krishna highlights, when you see this verse, we need to understand this. Divine is saying that I am Anadi, I am this total awareness. And people like us, Arjuna, all of us are the Jiva, the individuals, the limited awareness. So when Jiva is basically conditioned by, or Jiva is conditioned by the past impressions or vasanas. So the total consciousness and the limited consciousness. So the total consciousness is aware of everything. The supreme consciousness is aware of everything. Whereas the limited consciousness, so called as the Jiva, is conditioned by memory loss. Jiva is driven by the past impressions, so called as vasanas, without knowing them. So, bahuni me vyati, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava Arjuna, tanyaham veda sarvani natvam vedha parandava. Next verse, ajo visannavyayatma bhudanam ishvaro visan prakritim swamadishtaya sambhavamya atma-mayaya. Ajaha abhisan avyaya atma bhudanam ishvara abhisan prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atma-maya. So very, very, very profound verse. Ajovisan avyayatma bhudanam ishwarovisan prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atma maya. I am born with Maya under the control. I control Maya. Whereas Jiva is under the clutch of Maya. Ajaha api san avyaya atma. Who am I? Ajaha. That consciousness which is not born. This is unborn. Right? Being one who is unborn, ajaha. I am ajaha. Avyayaha. And this knowledge, this is not going to wane. Atma bhudanam ishwaraha api san. And prakritim swam adhishtaya. And this power of wielding power, I control this. I come into being. Sambhavami Atma Maya. All living beings by my own creative power. I am unborn. I am Ajam. I am changeless. And I manifest or appear through my own Maya. So Bhagavan says that Maya is under my control, whereas Arjuna, you are under the control of Maya. You are under the control of your traits, so called as vasanas. So, Maya under control versus under the control of Maya. I control Maya, whereas Arjuna, you are under the control of Maya. Controlled over the power of projection and misidentification. So, verse number 5 indirectly says that you don't know yourself fully. You are a limited awareness. This is your understanding, but you are not that. And verse 6 says that you have the possibility to operate on full awareness. That's what Bhagavan says. Ajobi sanyavayatma bhudanam ishwarobisan. I operate with full awareness and freedom. So you need to be aware of yourself. You need to drift from limited awareness to complete awareness or full awareness. The divine operates with full awareness and freedom. In Srimad Bhagavata, we can see the time of birth of Bhagavan Krishna during the Krishna Avatara. Right? The Rishis praise. The verse is like Satyavradam, Satyavaram, Trisatyam, Satyasayoni, Nihidam cha Satya, Satyasya Satyam, Rida Satya Netram, Satyatmagam Tvam, Sharanam Pravanna, Rida Satya Netram. Rhythm meaning what? This Krishna, this birth is basically the rhythm. This is the truth that will never change irrespective of the time. Rita Satya Netram Satyatmagam Tvam Charanam Pravanna. That is Satyam that never changes. And during the Krishna Avadara time, Nishide Tama Udbhude Jayamane Janardane Devakyam Devarubinyam Vishnu Sarva Guhashaya Avirasid Yada Prachyam Dishinduriva Pushkala. So you all know this story, the birth of Sri Krishna during the midnight, in the middle of night. So it's here you need to understand that middle of the night is basically what is called as ignorance here. So in the middle of the night, the divine manifesting, the birth of Krishna happens. When in the middle of ignorance, the divine manifests and shows this wisdom. You need to understand that the birth of Krishna happening in us when we are undergoing the ignorance, and when we have the bhakti, the blessings happen and the wisdom takes birth in us. In the deepest night, we need to understand that. In the story also, when there is no external support, everything was really difficult during the time of Bhagavan Krishna. The deepest night, when all external supports fail, the light of truth takes birth. Similarly, in all of us, when we are in the deepest trouble or struggle, there comes the hope that God is within us, shining as the Andaryami. In Chadusloki, you can see Bhagavan Sarva Bhudanam Adhyaksho Avastito Guna, who is sitting as the master, who is the Lord. In the Rukmini Swayamvara Sandarbha, during that time, Rukmini also praises. Even Krishna teases Rukmini, what made you to consider as your pati? There Rukmini makes a profound statement / prayer. Sutva guna bhuvana sundara srinutamte nirvishya karna vivarair haradom gadapam rupam drishimada akhilarthalapam toyachyuda chitta toyachyuda vishadi chitta abatrapam me toyachyuda vishadi chitta abatrapam me. So I see the Achyutan in you. Hearing about your qualities enters through the ears and removes all inner distress. Your form is fullest. Your form is the ultimate fulfillment to my eyes. And I see you as the Achyutan, the one there is no destruction. And I enter, the mind has entered you without any hesitation or shyness. So Lord, bless me. You give me bhakti. So what is really needed? Bhakti is needed to know this truth. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.